In the episode 2, Attack of the Clones, we found out that the Grand Army of the Republic consisted of 1.2 million clones. Now, let's do the math. There were around a billion inhabited star systems in Star Wars, but let's just simplify and let's say that there were a billion inhabited planets. That means that there were around 0.0012 clones per planet.
What?
So let's be honest, numbers do not always work in Star Wars, so it's kinda on us antisocial pricks without life to make them work, okay? And one of the most stupid numbers is the number of clones in the Grand Army of the Republic. You see, it's actually stated that there were around 6 million clones at the end of the Clone Wars. Yes, 6 million, around 4 times bigger than American military. It's just that, you know, we are talking about galactic scale conflict, not a planet one. Although there is a lot of videos on YouTube that actually already discuss this problem, there isn't really any videos that would actually discuss how big should actually Republic military be. So let's do this right here, right now. Like I said, there is about a billion inhabited planets in the galaxy, but luckily there were just about 1.3 million planets under the Republic, so we won't need to deal with more than 15 zeros, I hope. Now this is where it kinda gets tricky. So how many clones were actually needed per planet? Honestly, I have no idea. The thing is, let's consider that every single planet under the Republic needed clones, which is, it's not actually necessary that they did. But just how many did they actually need? I mean, most of the big battles actually happened on a few crucial planets, so it's not like every single planet needed a giant military. There are a few hundred battles, missions, conflicts, whatever, in the time of the Clone Wars. But think about it, clones are extremely well trained. I would argue that some of them are better warriors than Jango Fett himself. Think about the mission on Quellara, for example. There were 4 soldiers in total, but it was more than enough to accomplish the mission. And that included killing a few, I believe it's like 100 battle droids and destroying a whole facility, and there were just 4 of them. And I know these were Republic commandos, but still, which gets me thinking if Republic really needed that many clones. 6 million is still ridiculously small though. Just like so many people have already discussed, I'm gonna also mention that Lama Su says 200,000 units already, not soldiers. 200,000 units already. With that, he may be referring to military units, such as battalion. Many people then estimated that if a unit actually means 1 battalion of clones, which is anywhere from 300 to 1,000 clone troopers, that would mean that the Grand Army of the Republic actually consisted of 1,800,000,000 soldiers and all up to 6 billion soldiers. Now that are a lot more reasonable numbers. Now, some people from some reason in videos say that a battalion is actually 576 or something like that clones, I'm not sure. But from my research, I actually figured out that a battalion is anywhere from 300 to 1,000, so I don't know why it would be exactly 576 or how much is it. So yeah, these are definitely a lot better numbers, but I mean, it's still kind of too little, because if that would be the case, that would mean that there would be around 100 to 400 soldiers per planet. But that's not a problem, because military units can actually mean a lot of stuff. Like, we usually just say battalion, right? But military units, there is a lot of military units, and one of the biggest, for example, is Corps, and Corps is all the way from 20,000 to 50,000 soldiers. So if 1 unit equal to 1 corps, that would mean that 4 billion soldiers were ready, with 20 billion more to come at minimal. Now that's some real stuff. That would mean that in the peak of the Clone Wars there would be around 6 million corpses, not soldiers but corpses, in action, which would correspond to 120 billion to 300 billion clone troopers, which would mean that on average it would be around 100 to 200,000 clones per planet. Now that is better. If we include the Jedi and other special forces, that should be enough to have a war on galactic scale. I do still have one really huge argument for a size of the Republic's military, and that are Sparty clones actually. I really think that people don't know enough of them, but they're super cool. Basically, Palpatine had a secret clone facility, so to speak, and he could actually make a grown-up soldier in under a year. And guess what? There were billions of them in the Grand Army of the Republic. It's actually possible that there were actually more Sparty clones than Kaminoan clones in the Grand Army of the Republic. So I really think that this is something that's very overlooked. Okay, I won't go into details about them because I think that it's gonna be better to make an entire video about them. So subscribe if you wanna see that. It's also worth mentioning that Palpatine was just kind of playing around, you know. He didn't actually need a military to destroy the Separatists, but he needed a military big enough to make a show. He controlled both armies anyways, if you think about it. He made an army just big enough to almost bankrupt the Republic. Some senators, for example, even mentioned that Clone Army could never defeat Droid Army because there are just too many droids, okay? Even with the numbers that I mentioned today, clones have no chance against droids because there is around 1 quintillion droids. That's 1 and 18 zeros. The senators that mentioned that were later killed and many were found dead in their apartments. Of course, this is just speculation. All of this is just speculation. But there is actually one proof that the Republic military was bigger, that it's actually official. You see, in many different sources, it's actually stated that Lama Su was talking just about one, facility in Kamino, because there were multiple actual facilities on Kamino, and the one that Obi-Wan was at was just one of them. So it's actually confirmed that other facilities had even more clones. So there were more clones than that, but even with that, the only real explanation is that Lama Su was actually talking about military units. Otherwise, there is just not enough clones. That is the way it is. Alright, so this is kind of my unoriginal idea for why Clone Army was so little. First off, clone troopers were extremely efficient and you didn't really need a lot of them. Second, Lama Su was talking about military units and not a single soldier, so maybe the army wasn't small at all. 3. There were also Jedi and other forces that helped in the war. 4. At the end of the day, Palpatine was just playing around. He didn't actually need a strong army, just one big enough to be believable that it can defeat the Separatists. And 5. Sparty clones, which I didn't really mention a lot today, but yeah, I want to make an entire video for them because they're so important. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So guys, this is how many clones the Republic should have. Basically a lot more than are stated that there are, basically. If you don't agree with me or anything, we can discuss everything in comments below. So before you go, you may also want to subscribe because I'm gonna make awesome videos about expanded universe, and if you would like that, of course subscribe, because this channel is awesome and you love it and you want to subscribe, so subscribe. Also, I started making this video a few hours ago and it's 2 AM, so what the fuck am I